We are in Gothenburg, Sweden. It is Sweden's second largest city. It has a population of about 1 million people. And what is the point of this video? The point of this video is to show that life can be somewhat normal under coronavirus. My friends and family back home in the US are in utter disbelief that you can live a somewhat normal life while the pandemic is going on. So I'm just gonna walk through the city and show real footage of the parks, the sidewalks, the restaurants. I even go to the hospital. And hopefully it gives you a good idea of what life can be like under the coronavirus. So here we go. So we are going to start on one of the main streets in Gothenburg. It's called Avenyn. And right now I'm just walking towards the city center, and you can see people here at one of the outdoor cafes enjoying the summer sun. And I should note that this is on a Friday after work, so people are out enjoying themselves, catching up for a drink or coffee, or fika as they call it in Sweden. And as you can see, people are out at the restaurants. The restaurants are not closed. People seem to be enjoying themselves. And for the most part, it's almost life as normal. But as we speed it up and walk towards the city center, I will show you a few things that have changed since coronavirus and some of the precautions that are in place. But the first stop we'll come to is McDonald's. And this is the McDonald's on Avenyn. And as you come to the door here, you'll see a sign that says "Håll avstånd," and that just translates to keep distance. So if you come into the McDonald's, it's not very busy at this hour, but there are little stickers on the floor that say "Håll avstånd," and if there was a line in this McDonald's, this is where you would stand, so to make sure you're keeping distance between the other guests. And if you look, you can see plexiglass between the register and the customer that's ordering. Before we go back on the street, I just wanted to show some footage of my local gym. This is the gym earlier in the day. As you can see, it's looks pretty normal. People are working out. And I should note that after the gym, I always use hand sanitizer, and I wipe down all of the equipment, and I wipe down my phone because I'm often touching my phone in between sets. So back on the Avenyn, we can see a few more restaurants. People are eating. Most of the restaurants, if not all of them, actually close every other table so as to keep distance between the customers. And as we kind of speed up and come to the next stop, this is Systembolaget. And this sign says, "You can wait a little longer today. Because of coronavirus, we are limiting the amount of customers in the store." So if it were to be really busy, they wouldn't let the store get to full capacity. You'd have to wait outside, and then they would call you in. But Systembolaget is the government-owned monopoly for alcohol. Basically, this is the only place you can buy alcohol in Sweden. There are some types of alcohol sold in regular supermarkets, but it's like low percentage alcohol, 3.5 and below. So if you want to get any sort of alcohol, you have to come to Systembolaget. And because this is Friday and Systembolaget has limited hours on Saturdays and closed on Sundays, there's people in here stocking up for the weekend. And I'm just going to do a quick walk around the store. And what you'll notice again here is that there are little placards on the floor where you're supposed to wait when you are waiting to use the register. And as I exit here, try to take a look at the plexiglass or the screen between the customer and the cashier. So as we walk back onto Avenyn, I should just mention that Gothenburg has about 1 million people in the metropolitan area. The population density is about 3,300 per square mile. That's much smaller than New York's population density of 28,000 per square mile, and Los Angeles 8,000 per square mile. But it's about the same population density as Phoenix, Arizona, or Houston, Texas. Now I'm just walking towards Avenyn, which is a public park, and we're going to see people out here playing sports, playing frisbee golf, and mainly playing soccer because we are in Europe. And I guess the theory behind letting people play sports is that it's healthier to let them get outside and get fresh air and some sun and activity as opposed to keeping them locked up inside. Overall, I'd say that I agree with the way that Sweden has handled the coronavirus situation. It feels very safe. I mean, I've been on the buses, I've been going to the gym, and I haven't gotten sick yet, cross my fingers. But they are recommending that you keep your social distance, and that especially people in the risk groups and those over 70 should stay inside and avoid crowds. In this next clip, I'm going to show some footage of the hospital. So this sign here says, are you experiencing respiratory issues or do you have a fever? Do not go into the hospital if you have these symptoms. And I had to actually visit the hospital because I had an appointment for my ear. I have a recurring ear issue. Otherwise, they wouldn't have let me in. And here's footage of the makeshift tents that they've set up to respond to coronavirus. And from what I understand, they are almost empty. There have been 550 deaths in Västra Götaland, which is the county or the state, if you will, that Gothenburg is in. And the total population of that county is 1.7 million. So 550 deaths out of 1.7 million people in this particular county in western Sweden. And now we're walking across a public plaza and towards a popular outdoor restaurant. And you can see that people are supposed to stand on those little green mats to maintain their distance while they're waiting in line. But the sun was out this day. And let me just say one thing. When the sun is out, the Swedes are not staying inside. The Swedes have been on lockdown for the last 6 months. It's called Swedish winter. So, I mean, as soon as the sun comes out and the first sight of spring and summer, people are going outside, and I don't think there's really anything you could do to stop them. I've lived through the winter now. I've experienced it, and I feel the same way. It's as soon as the sun comes out, you are going outside. And here you can just see people sitting along the moat that separates the inner part of the city, just drinking some beers and catching some sun. Before I go any further, I'd just like to say, if you haven't already watched our The Truth About Coronavirus in Sweden video, you should click on that video next and watch that one. We break down and go into more detail about what's going on in Sweden with their coronavirus. And I'd also just like to ask that if you're enjoying this video and you want to see more information and more videos about the coronavirus in Sweden, then please click subscribe. It goes a long way in helping support this channel. And if you agree with what Sweden is doing with the coronavirus, give us a thumbs up. And if you disagree, give us a thumbs down, and feel free to leave a comment about why you think that. Now I'm walking towards Kungsports Avenyn, and you can see people getting on the bus. And I'm going to cut to some footage that I shot on the bus. And the buses do get pretty packed. So I would say if there is one place you're going to catch the virus, it's probably on the public transportation. There is a little roped off area towards the front, which is meant to protect the driver, so the driver has some space around him. But otherwise, the passengers are all pretty close to each other. And I think what's interesting to note is that no one is wearing a mask. In fact, if you look closely in this video, you'll see that there were only 2 people out of the probably hundreds or even thousands that I filmed that were actually wearing a mask. So people don't feel the need to wear a mask. We are walking towards a shopping area called Nordstan, and I'm just going to pop into a retail store here. Again, the stores and the restaurants have all stayed open, and in my opinion, I'm not a professional health expert, but in my opinion, I feel like this has done a lot to save the economy. I've seen what's been happening over in the US, and it's just insane, really. 40 million unemployed. So I think the decision to leave the stores open is a good one. And if you just walk around the store here, you can see people shopping. They also have the same policy here. If it gets too crowded, you're supposed to wait outside, but I guess this is not crowded enough to warrant those conditions. And yeah, you can see people shopping. You can also notice the plexiglass, again, separating the customers and the cashier. That's meant to keep both the cashier and the customers safe. Here we can see a Padan boat that's cruising through the canal, and there are many canals going through the city, and there actually were even more canals earlier in the century, but they filled them in. Fun fact, Gothenburg was actually built by the Dutch, so it's almost like a mini Amsterdam, and if you do come to Gothenburg to visit, I'd highly recommend going on the Padan boat. So now we're in Nordstan. This is the largest shopping center in Scandinavia. It's an indoor shopping center, again, because it's too cold in the winter to have an outdoor shopping center. But this is kind of like the center of town. This is where the train station is as well. So a lot of people from out of town come here. And it's not very busy right now. This is Friday. Most people are out at a bar or restaurant or at the park. So the shopping center is actually pretty empty compared to normal hours when on a normal day it's packed. Now I'm walking along towards another one of the canals. And this is sort of the Grand Canal, if you will, in the center of town. And you can see the people on the bridge there waiting to get into the floating restaurant/bar. And this is actually my final destination. I'm meeting my girlfriend, Julia. She's gonna walk up the stairs here and let me into the restaurant. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video to show that life here is almost at normal. There are precautions in place. We'll see how it plays out in the end. We have a higher death rate than the United States, but much lower than, say, UK, Spain, Italy, or Belgium. But just remember to keep your social distance, wash your hands, use hand sanitizer, and please be safe. And if you're feeling sick, stay at home and stay away from the risk groups.